The first siren showed up before my wife did. It was 1:12 a.m. The house was dark except for the blue glow of the baby monitor we never unplugged, even though our kid stopped needing it years ago. The driveway flooded with red light, then blue, then red again, like somebody was taking pictures of my life from the street. I stepped onto the porch in socks and a t-shirt that smelled like old coffee. Cold air slapped me awake. A paramedic was already walking up the path, big shoulders, reflective stripes, face calm like this was Tuesday. "Evan Hart?" he asked. I nodded. "We've got your wife. She's conscious. She asked for you." That last part was what made my stomach drop. Not the ambulance. Not the neighbor's curtain twitching across the street. Not the way the night felt suddenly full of eyes. The words, "your wife," like she was still mine in a way that mattered. The back doors opened and the stretcher rolled out. She was strapped down, hair stuck to her forehead, mascara smeared, lips pale. Her right ankle was wrapped in a quick, ugly splint. There was a scrape along her cheek and a small cut on her chin, already drying to a dark line. She looked like she'd been dropped and put back together in a hurry. "Lena," I said. Her eyes found me, unfocused, then sharp, like she was trying to decide which version of me to use. "Hey," she whispered. Her voice was thin. "It's not what you think." That sentence came out of her like a habit, like a reflex she'd trained in some other conversation. And right there, with the paramedics and the neighbors and the cold and the flashing lights, I knew this wasn't a random accident. Random accidents don't start with a lie. One of the paramedics spoke over her, professional and polite. "Sir, we need to transport. We'd like you to follow us to St. Mary's. Do you have someone who can stay with your daughter?" "My daughter's asleep," I said, and even as I said it, I saw Maya's face in my mind. 10 years old, sharp eyes, the kind of kid who notices the difference between a fake laugh and a real one. She'd noticed things I'd missed. Maybe she'd noticed things Lena thought she'd hidden. "I can call my sister," I added, because that's what a responsible person says. That's what a husband does when his wife comes home on a stretcher. Lena tried to lift her hand. The strap stopped her. "Evan, please." "Please what? Please don't ask. Please don't leave. Please don't look at me like you already know." I forced my voice to stay level. "What happened?" She swallowed. Her eyes slid away from me, toward the ambulance ceiling, like the answer was written up there in bold letters. "Girls' night," she said. I fell." The paramedic's face didn't change, but his eyes flicked to my wife's purse, which had been stuffed into a clear bag. A set of keys dangled from the zipper. Not Lena's keys, not the little pink keychain with the tiny house on it. These were heavy, plain, with a black fob that looked like it belonged to a truck. I'm a municipal risk assessor. My whole job is looking at the small details people don't think matter until they do. Loose handrails, bad lighting, missing signage, the kind of stuff that turns a normal day into a lawsuit. That key fob was a detail that mattered. They rolled her into the ambulance. The doors closed with a final, hollow thump. For a second, the street went quiet, except for the engine and the distant hum of the city. The neighbor across the way, Mrs. Dugan, retired, bored, always hunting drama, stood behind her curtain like she'd been waiting for this scene her whole life. I went back inside, grabbed my keys, and walked down the hall to Maya's room. Her nightlight made soft stars on the ceiling. She was asleep on her side, one hand tucked under her cheek. I watched her breathe for 3 seconds, then 4. The house felt like it had shifted, like the foundation had moved a half-inch when I wasn't looking. I called my sister, told her there was an emergency, and left without saying the thing that crawled up my throat. It's not what you think. Because the truth is, it was exactly what I thought. I just didn't know how bad. At the hospital, the ambulance doors opened again. The stretcher wheels rattled over the automatic threshold. Everything smelled like disinfectant and tired people. A nurse with a clipboard intercepted me. "Are you her husband?" she asked. My mouth opened. The word yes lined up behind my teeth like it had a right to be there. And then I hesitated. Not because I didn't love her once, not because I didn't share a mortgage and a child and 1,000 little routines with her. I hesitated because the question suddenly sounded like a trap. If I said yes, I was claiming her story. If I said no, I was letting her fall alone. The nurse waited, pen hovering, eyes already moving on to the next crisis. Behind her, Lena's face turned toward me from the gurney, wide and pleading. And I realized something simple, something ugly. Whatever happened tonight, she expected me to fix it. "I'm her husband," I finally said, and the words tasted like pennies. The nurse nodded and wrote it down. A wristband got printed, slapped on me like a receipt. I followed them past the waiting room where late-night TV played to nobody, past a vending machine that sold stale chips at crime scene prices. Lena disappeared behind double doors. The doors swung shut. I was left with a row of plastic chairs and my own thoughts, which were loud enough to set off alarms. My phone buzzed. A text from Lena's mother, Denise, came through before I could even sit. "Denise, what happened to my daughter?" I stared at the screen. I didn't answer. Not because I was being cruel, because I didn't have an answer that wasn't a guess, and guesses get you in trouble. I make a living telling people that. 20 minutes later, Denise arrived like a storm wearing perfume. She was dressed for bed, but had thrown on a cardigan like it was armor. Behind her came Lena's older brother, Paul. Big guy, ex-high school linebacker, who still carried his shoulders like he expected someone to hit him. They didn't ask if I was okay. They didn't ask what I'd seen. Denise went straight for blame, because blame was easy, and it made her feel in control. "Where were you?" she demanded. "At home," I said. Paul's eyes narrowed. "So you just let her go out?" Let her. Like Lena was a teenager with a curfew. Like I was supposed to lock the doors and hide the keys. "She went out with friends," I said. "She's a grown woman." Denise made a sound in her throat, half sob, half insult. "She wouldn't be here if you paid attention to her." There it was. The old song. Any time Lena was unhappy, it was my fault. I worked too much. I didn't listen enough. I didn't show up the right way. The fact that I showed up every morning, every night, every school meeting, every winter virus didn't count. Those were just the boring parts. Denise only cared about the parts people posted. A doctor came out and introduced himself, tired eyes, calm voice. "She has a fractured ankle and a mild concussion," he said. "No internal bleeding. She'll need surgery in the morning to stabilize the joint." Denise clutched her chest like the words were knives. Paul muttered something that sounded like a prayer but might have been a swear. "What happened?" Denise asked. The doctor glanced at his chart. "She reported a fall. That's all I have right now." Denise turned on me again. "A fall where, Evan?" "I don't know," I said. "She said girls' night." Denise's expression changed. A flash of relief, then anger. "So she was out drinking." "I didn't say that." "You don't have to," she snapped. "You always defend her when you should be protecting her." I almost laughed. Protecting her? From what? The world? Her own choices? The way Denise said it, Lena had slipped on a banana peel outside a church. A nurse called Denise back to see Lena for a moment. Denise and Paul disappeared through the doors. I stayed in the waiting room because no one asked me to come, and because I had a new job tonight. Silence. I watched the clock. 2:04, 2:11, 2:19. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email, automated, cold, no greeting. Subject: volunteer credentials revoked, effective immediately from the Gala Committee, the Riverstone Children's Fund. Lena's favorite shiny thing. She'd been volunteering there for months, talking about it like it was a second career. The email said in neat black letters that due to tonight's incident, her credentials had been revoked. Tonight's incident. Not fall, not accident, incident. I read it twice. My hands went numb. The children's fund ran events with rich people in tuxes and dresses that cost more than my car. They didn't revoke credentials for a sprained ankle. They revoked credentials because someone told them something. Someone saw her. Someone saw her with the wrong person. I looked around the waiting room like the answer might be sitting beside me. A man in scrubs drank bad coffee. A teenage boy slept with his mouth open. A woman cried quietly into her phone. Denise came back alone. Her eyes were wet, but her mouth was sharp. "She's terrified," she said, "and you're sitting here like a statue." I stood. "I'm here." "She needs you to stop being cold." Cold. That word again. Like feelings were a fire I was supposed to keep burning on demand. Like being steady was the same as being empty. Denise leaned closer. "You have to promise you're not going to do anything stupid." "Like what?" "Like leaving her," she hissed. "Like punishing her when she's helpless." My heart gave a slow, ugly thump. "Why would you say that?" Denise blinked, just once, too fast, like she'd almost revealed something. "Because," she said quickly, "men like you do that. They make everything about themselves." Paul reappeared behind her. "Mom, stop!" "No!" Denise snapped, wiping her face. "He needs to hear it. She's in there with a broken ankle and he's already judging her." I didn't know what to say because she wasn't wrong. I was judging. I was putting the pieces together, the way I do for a living. Keys, email. The phrase, "It's not what you think." I thought about divorce the way a person thinks about the word fire when they smell smoke. Not as a plan, as a warning. Denise saw something in my face and her voice got louder. "You're not going to abandon her in the hospital, Evan." I looked at her and said the truth. "I'm not abandoning her." Paul exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. Denise nodded, satisfied, like she'd just won a battle. Then she added, softer, more poisonous. "Because if you do, everyone will know what kind of man you really are." In my head, something clicked into place. This wasn't just fear. This was strategy. And it hit me, clean and bright. Whatever Lena had done tonight, she'd already started writing the story where I was the monster. My sister, Kara, met me at the hospital around 3. She smelled like sleep and peppermint gum. She hugged me once, quick, like we were at a funeral and didn't want to admit it. "Maya's fine," she said. She was half awake when I got there. "Did she ask questions?" "She asked if Mom was hurt," Kara said. I said yes. She asked if Mom was coming home. I said not tonight. Kara studied my face. "What's going on?" "I don't know yet," I said, and that was the honest part. Kara nodded like she believed me, but the way her eyes lingered told me she didn't believe everything. Lena was admitted. They wheeled her to a room upstairs. Denise and Paul took turns sitting with her like guards. I wasn't asked to come up until the sun started thinking about rising. When I finally walked into Lena's room, she looked smaller in the hospital bed. The gown was too thin. The monitors beeped like an impatient metronome. Her ankle was elevated, wrapped, ugly and swollen. Her eyes tracked me. "Evan," she said, soft. Denise sat in the corner, arms crossed, watching like I was a suspect. Paul stood by the window, scrolling his phone. "Can we talk alone?" I asked. Denise's mouth tightened. "She's not in a state—" "I'm not asking you," Lena said. Her voice was weak but firm. It surprised me. Denise opened her mouth, then closed it. Paul clapped Denise's shoulder. "Come on, Mom." He guided her out. The door shut behind them. For a second it was just me and Lena, and the steady beep of a heart monitor proving she was still alive. She tried to smile. It didn't work. "This is a lot." "Yeah," I said. "It is." She stared at the blanket. I fell. "Where?" "At a friend's place. That gala committee email said you had an incident." I kept my voice flat. "What incident?" Her eyes flicked up, then down. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled my phone out and showed her the email. Her face changed. Not surprise, not confusion, fear. "Who sent that?" she whispered. "You tell me," I said. Her fingers tightened on the blanket. "Evan, please." There it was again, please, like it was a key that used to open me. I leaned forward. "Those keys in your bag, not yours. Whose are they?" Silence stretched. The monitor beeped. Somewhere down the hall, a nurse laughed at something. Normal life still existed in other rooms. Lena's voice came out thin. It was nothing. "Nothing doesn't get you carried into our driveway." She squeezed her eyes shut. "It wasn't what you think." "Then say what it was." She opened her eyes and looked at me with that practiced expression, hurt, defensive, righteous, all at once. "I don't want to do this right now." I felt something in me settle, a decision without the drama. "Okay," I said. "Then we're done." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm going home. I'll check on Maya. We can talk when you're ready to tell the truth." Denise burst back into the room like she'd been listening at the door. "You can't leave her." I looked at her. "Watch me." Denise's face flushed. "She needs you." "She has you," I said. Denise stepped closer, voice sharp. "If you file for divorce while she's in this bed, you'll regret it. Do you hear me?" Lena's eyes filled. "Evan." I walked out anyway. At home, the kitchen light felt too bright. Kara was on the couch with a blanket. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, wide awake, hair messy, holding a stuffed fox like it was a shield. She looked up at me. "Dad?" I crouched in front of her. "Hey, kiddo." Her eyes darted to Kara, then back to me. "Is Mom okay?" "She's hurt," I said carefully, "but she's going to be okay." Maya nodded like she'd already known that. Her voice got smaller. "Did she go on a date?" Kara's head snapped up. "Maya!" Maya didn't flinch. She was the kind of kid who asked questions like they were normal things people said at breakfast. I felt my chest tighten. "Why would you ask that?" Maya hugged the fox to her chest. "Because she told me to lie." The room went quiet. Even the refrigerator seemed to stop humming. Kara whispered, "Maya, what do you mean?" Maya looked at me, eyes steady. "Last night she called me, not from her phone, from some other number. She said she was at a friend's, and she said if anyone asked, I was supposed to say she was with Aunt Jill." Aunt Jill didn't exist. We didn't have an Aunt Jill. My mouth went dry. "When did she call?" "Before the sirens," Maya said. She sounded mad, like she was whispering but also yelling. I sat back on my heels. "What did you hear?" Maya swallowed. "A man, in the background. He was saying, 'Not here, not like this.' And Mom said, 'You promised.' Then she said, 'If you leave me here, I swear I'll—'" And then she stopped, like someone grabbed the phone. Kara's hand flew to her mouth. Maya kept going because that's what kids do when they finally get permission to tell the truth. Then she called again later and she was crying. She said she fell and she said I shouldn't tell you she called. She said it would make you overreact. Overreact, the word people use when they want you quiet. I forced my voice to stay gentle. "Did she say where she was?" Maya shook her head, but I heard a door, like a garage door, and I heard rain, and a car beep. My brain started arranging the sounds into a map. Garage, rain, truck fob. Incident. Kara lowered herself onto the couch like her legs stopped working. Maya's eyes got wet. "Am I in trouble?" "No," I said quickly. "No, you did the right thing." She nodded, relieved, then asked the question that finished the job. "Dad," she said, voice small but sure, "do you want to know why she really got hurt?" The house felt colder, like the heat had quit. I opened my mouth, and for the first time since the sirens, I realized there was something worse than betrayal. It was betrayal that tried to recruit my child. I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad and a cup of coffee I kept forgetting to drink. The house made its normal little noises, pipes, settling wood, the faint click of the furnace, normal sounds in a life that had stopped being normal. Kara tried to talk to me. Evan, maybe. Not now, I said, not angry, just empty. She understood and went back to Maya's room. I opened my laptop and pulled up the county court website. Most people imagine divorce as shouting and suitcases and slammed doors. In real life, it starts with a form you can download in under 10 seconds. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The words looked clinical, clean, like they belonged to strangers. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred, then I called my attorney. His name was Malcolm Price. Solid, dull, reliable. The kind of guy you hire when you want reality, not drama. He answered on the second ring, voice rough with sleep. Evan? I need to file, I said. A pause. You sure? No, I said, but I'm done waiting for sure. He didn't ask for details. He just said, okay, bring me what you have. We'll do it right. Doing it right mattered. That was the line I held on to. I wasn't going to be reckless. I wasn't going to swing wild. I wasn't going to become the monster Denise wanted to paint. I was going to become something worse, a man with patience. By morning, Lena was scheduled for surgery. Denise texted me a dozen times. Paul called twice. I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to punish Lena in a hospital bed, because I needed the story to stop being about feelings and start being about facts. Malcolm met me in his office that afternoon. I told him about the ambulance, the keys, the gala email, Maya's call. I didn't embellish. I didn't accuse. I just laid it out like a report. Malcolm listened, then said, Do you want to allege adultery? Does it matter? I asked. In this state, he said. Not much. No fault. But behavior matters for custody if it affects the child. My stomach turned. She involved Maya. Malcolm's expression hardened. Then yes, it matters. He slid papers toward me. Sign here, and here. We'll request temporary orders. You stay in the house. Primary care stays with you until the court says otherwise. I signed. My hand didn't shake. That surprised me. Maybe the shaking happened earlier, when I still believed in mercy. When I left Malcolm's office, my phone buzzed with another email from the Riverstone Children's Fund. This one was shorter. Subject: Board review requested someone had filed a complaint. Someone had moved first. I called the committee chair, a woman named Marla, because I'd met her at one of the events. I kept my voice calm. I got your email. Marla sounded uncomfortable. Evan, I'm sorry. We have to take reports seriously. What report? I asked. A hesitation. I can't share specifics. Okay, I said. Then here's what you need to know. My wife was injured last night. She was transported to St. Mary's. Whatever you heard, I'm asking you to wait for facts. Marla exhaled. There were witnesses. Then you'll get facts, I said. Soon. I ended the call and sat in my car in the parking lot, watching people walk by with shopping bags and coffee cups. Nobody looked like their life was breaking. I drove to St. Mary's, not to comfort Lena, to tell her the truth before Denise did. Lena was awake, post-surgery, groggy, eyes half-lidded. Denise was in the room, phone in hand, already mid-sentence. He filed, she said like she was announcing a weather report. Lena's head jerked toward me. You did what? I filed, I said. Denise's mouth curled. Monster! I ignored her. I looked at Lena. You asked Maya to lie. Lena blinked, confusion sliding into panic. I didn't. Maya told me, I said. So don't. Lena's face drained, her eyes filled. I was scared. Of what? I asked. Me finding out? Or him leaving you on a driveway somewhere? Denise snapped. Don't talk to her like that. Lena's voice cracked. Evan, I didn't mean to involve her. It just happened. Everything just happens to you, I said. You never choose it. Her eyes flashed. I made a mistake. I nodded slowly. Then you made it twice. Once when you went. Again when you tried to turn our kid into your cover. Denise stepped closer, furious. She's in pain, and you're interrogating her like you're a cop. I felt the urge to laugh again. A cop. If I was a cop, I'd have handcuffs and authority. I had neither. I had something else. Time. I'm not interrogating, I said. I'm informing you. The divorce is filed. I'm requesting temporary custody. And I'm not discussing anything else until Lena tells the truth. Lena's lips trembled. Please, don't do this. I leaned in, not touching her, just close enough that she had to look at me. You already did this, I said. I'm just the one who stopped pretending. I left before the tears could turn into a scene. In the hallway, I passed a man in a reflective vest, pushing a cart. Hospital maintenance. He nodded at me like we were both just doing our jobs. Outside, the sky was low and gray. Rain threatened. The world felt like a lid. On the way to my car, I saw it. A black pickup parked crooked in a no-parking zone near the outpatient entrance, big tires, a clean body, a contractor's decal on the side, Blake Build & Co. The same kind of truck that used those heavy plain keys. The truck wasn't parked like someone careful. It was parked like someone who believed consequences were for other people. I stood under the awning, watching rain start to fall in thin needles, and I understood my next move wasn't going to be dramatic. It was going to be quiet. Because the person who parked like that? He'd been careless once already, and careless men leave trails. People expect rage to be loud. Mine wasn't. Mine was the quiet kind that makes you notice everything. I waited outside St. Mary's until the man with the black pickup came out. Ball cap, broad shoulders, easy walk. He didn't look up at the windows like he was worried about the woman in a hospital bed. He looked like a guy who'd escaped a mess. He climbed into the truck and drove north. I followed, not tight, not reckless, 2 cars back, steady. The city turned into suburbs, then into a neighborhood of new builds where every porch light stayed on like a superstition. He turned into a cul-de-sac and backed into a driveway. Big house, stone accents, a crooked wreath nobody bothered to straighten. He went inside and didn't look around. I sat across the street and let the rain tap my windshield. My job is municipal risk assessment, measuring the things people ignore until the moment they're screaming about them. Loose steps, bad lighting, missing rails. I don't need to feel my way through a night like this. I can read it. I can see where the fall happened before anyone says the word fall. A car beep, a garage door, a wet stairwell, a man who doesn't call for help because help comes with questions. The decal on his door was clear. Blake Build & Co. I didn't need a private investigator. I didn't need anything illegal. I needed the internet and a name. Derek Blake. I walked up the sidewalk with my hands visible and my pace normal. Not sneaking, not charging. Just a man showing up. I stopped at the edge of the driveway and called his business number. A phone buzzed inside. Then the front door opened and Derek filled the frame. He tried for a smile and missed. Yeah? Evan Hart, I said. His eyes narrowed like he'd been hoping this moment wouldn't come and also knowing it would. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here to ask a question. When she got hurt, did you call 911? He leaned against the door frame like boredom was armor. She slipped. It wasn't a big deal. Did you call? I asked again. His gaze slid away, half a second, but it was enough. No, I said, answering for him. Someone else did. You left her there. His face hardened. Don't put that on me, she's not your property. My wife isn't property, I said, but my kid is not your cover. He flinched at that, quick and real. Derek's voice dropped. This is between you and her. Funny, I said, because you were between her and the stairs. His jaw tightened. Look, man, it happened. She's fine. Let it go. Let it go. Like it was a receipt he could throw away. I pulled my phone out and showed him a photo I'd taken earlier. His truck outside the hospital, logo clean as a confession. My attorney has this, I said, and he's going to ask you questions under oath. Derek scoffed, but it sounded thin. You don't have proof of anything. My daughter heard your voice, I said, on the call where my wife told her to lie. That landed. His throat moved. His eyes darted toward the street like he wanted witnesses and also wanted them erased. You're dragging a kid into it? He snapped. No, I said. You were already there. You were in the background. He stepped forward, shoulders rising, hands tightening. He looked like he wanted to scare me back into silence. I didn't give him fear. I gave him calm. I'm not going to hit you, I said. You want to know why? Because then you'd get to be the victim. You'd get to tell your buddies some crazy husband story and walk away clean. His eyes narrowed. So what? You're going to threaten me with emails? I'm going to tell the truth, I said. To people who care about your name, to people who pay you, to people who trust you around their property. His smile twitched and gone. Here's what happens, I said. You get served, you answer questions, and every time you think you can fix it by running, you remember a 10-year-old heard you. He stared at me, anger failing to cover panic. You're crazy, he muttered. No, I said. I'm awake. I turned and walked away without hurrying. In my rearview mirror, Derek stood in his doorway, rain soaking him, watching me like he'd finally understood something simple. I knew who he was. And now, so would everyone else. Halfway home, my phone buzzed with another Riverstone email. Subject, venue confirmation. 2 sentences, her presence confirmed, his presence implied. The story Lena tried to keep inside our marriage was already outside, walking around with witnesses. I drove through the rain and felt my mercy get quieter, like a light dimming on purpose. Lena came home 5 days later on crutches with a plastic boot that made her leg look like a toy. The first thing she did wasn't hug Maya. It wasn't apologize. It wasn't ask how we were doing. The first thing she did was look at the living room like she was measuring what had changed. Her eyes landed on the stack of paperwork on the side table, the court packet Malcolm had told me to keep visible, not as intimidation, as reality. She swallowed. You really filed. I really filed, I said. Maya hovered behind me, holding her stuffed fox, watching her mother with the careful eyes kids get when adults start turning unpredictable. Lena forced a smile for her. Hi, baby. Maya hugged the fox tighter. Hi. Lena's smile faltered. She looked back at me, anger breaking through the pain meds. You told her. She told me, I said. Lena's cheeks flushed. She's a kid. She misunderstands things. Maya's eyes snapped up. Hurt flashed across her face. I felt my voice go cold. Don't. Lena blinked. Don't what? Don't make her doubt what she heard, I said. She didn't misunderstand. She's not stupid. Lena's mouth opened, then closed. She shifted her weight awkwardly on the crutches. I was trying to protect her. No, I said. You were trying to protect yourself. She flinched like I'd slapped her, even though I hadn't moved. Denise arrived an hour later with a casserole and a mission. She acted like she was stepping into a war zone. She kissed Lena's forehead, hugged Maya too long, then turned to me and lowered her voice. You're really doing this, she said. I already did, I said. Denise's eyes narrowed. You know what people are saying. I don't, I said, and I don't care. That's a lie, she snapped. You care about your precious reputation. I almost laughed. I thought about the gala committee emails, the incident, the way a story spreads faster than a virus. Denise was right about one thing. Reputation mattered. That was why Lena cheated with a man like Derek. That was why she'd tried to hide it. That was why Denise was panicking now. Lena sat on the couch, boot propped on pillows, trying to look brave. Evan, she said softly, can we talk without your mom energy in the room? Denise's head jerked. Excuse me? I didn't mean, Lena started. I cut in. "We can talk," I said, "but not like you want." Lena's eyes searched mine. "Like I want?" "Like you control," I said. "Like you cry and I fix it and we pretend it didn't happen." Denise's voice rose. "She's injured." I kept my eyes on Lena. "You're not helpless," I said. "You made choices on 2 working legs. You can talk on 1 boot." Lena's throat moved. I didn't plan it." "I know," I said. "That's the problem." Her eyebrows drew together. "What does that mean?" "It means you let things happen," I said. "You drift, you flirt, you lie, then you act shocked when you hit something." Lena's eyes went wet. "So you're just going to throw our marriage away?" I looked at her. "You already threw it," I said. "I'm just not picking it up." Denise made a strangled sound. "You are a monster." I turned to her then, finally. "Denise," I said, "you can call me whatever you want, but you don't get to rewrite what happened." Denise's face tightened. "You don't know what happened." I nodded once. "I know enough." That night, after Denise left and Maya was asleep, Lena tried again. She came into the kitchen on her crutches, moving slow like suffering was a currency she expected me to accept. She leaned against the counter. "I'm scared," she said. "Of the surgery?" I asked. "No," she whispered. "Of losing you." My chest did a small, stupid ache because some part of me still remembered the version of us that wasn't poison. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This time there was no courtesy. Unknown. "Tell your attorney to back off. I'm not getting dragged into your drama." I looked up at Lena and watched her face change. "Who's that?" she asked too quickly. I held the phone out. She read it. Her lips parted. Her hands tightened on her crutches. "I don't know," she lied. It was almost automatic. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just watched her. A person can lie like breathing when they've done it long enough. I set my phone down. "He's disappearing," I said. Lena's eyes snapped to mine. "What?" "He thinks he can step out of this," I said. "He thinks you're the only one who'll pay." Lena's breath went shallow. "Evan, please, don't do anything." I tilted my head. "Like what? Tell the truth?" She swallowed hard. "You're doing this to hurt me." "I'm doing this because you hurt Maya," I said. "And because you tried to hurt me by turning me into the villain before I even knew the crime." Lena's eyes filled. "It wasn't a crime." I nodded. "No," I said. "It wasn't." And that was the sharpest part. No crime meant no handcuffs, no dramatic courtroom scene with a villain in chains. No one was coming to stop me. Lena stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Because the husband who begged for truth was gone. In his place was a man who had learned something simple. If you can't control someone's choices, you can control the consequences. Lena's voice shook. He said he was done. I watched her, and I let my face stay calm. "That's what cowards say," I told her. And I saw it in her eyes. The moment she realized Derek wasn't running from me, he was running from her. Malcolm texted, "Deposition notice is ready. We'll serve him. If he dodges, it looks worse." Derek's training studio sat behind a nail salon in a strip mall. Big sign, bigger ego. Blake performance training, like sweating under his name, made him important. The parking lot was full of minivans and people pretending they weren't watching each other. I didn't go in. I watched from my car while a process server in a gray suit walked through the front door carrying an envelope that weighed almost nothing. 5 minutes later, the back door slammed open and Derek shot out like the place was on fire. He sprinted across the service alley, gym bag bouncing, keys already in his hand. He didn't look strong now. He looked hunted. He aimed for the apartment parking garage next door, stabbed a keypad code, and dove through as the gate arm lifted. The process server followed at a normal pace. I followed behind him at mine. Inside, The garage smelled like wet concrete and exhaust. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, making everything look sick. Derek's footsteps echoed up the ramp, fast, sloppy. We rounded the first turn and saw him at his pickup, parked over 2 spaces like he needed room to be a man. He yanked the driver door open and froze when he heard the server's voice. "Derek Blake," the server called, calm and boring. "I have documents for you." Derek spun, eyes wild. "I don't accept," he snapped. "That's not how it works," the server said, stepping closer. Derek backed up, glancing around like there might be a trap door. He tried to slide around the truck and cut toward the stairwell. In his hurry, his boot hit a slick patch of concrete. He windmilled his arms, grabbed the open door for balance, and the door smacked into the car parked beside him with a dull metal thud. A horn blared. Somewhere on the lower level, someone yelled, "Hey!" Derek jerked like he'd been stung. He looked less like a confident businessman and more like a guy caught stealing. The process server didn't rush. He didn't have to. He waited for Derek to stop spinning long enough to be a target. Derek's jaw clenched. For a second, I thought he might swing. Then his eyes flicked to the security camera in the corner, red light blinking. He swallowed his anger like it tasted bad. The server placed the envelope on the hood. "You have been served." Derek stared at it like it might bite him. Then he looked at me, hate trying to cover fear. "This is harassment," he hissed. "This is paperwork," I said. "You're the one who turned it into a sprint." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't have proof." I nodded toward the camera, then toward the envelope. "You running is proof," I said. "And my daughter hearing you is proof. You don't get to erase yourself from a night you helped create." His mouth opened, then closed. He wasn't used to words that didn't bend. "Listen," he said, trying a new angle. "Tell your attorney to back off. I'm done. She's done. It's over." That line again. Over. Like he could announce it and reality would obey. I leaned in just enough for him to hear. "You don't get to decide when it's over," I said. "You don't get to leave people on the ground and then set the terms." His hands curled into fists. He didn't swing. Not because he was good, because cameras are honest. I added, quiet, "I'm not going to touch you. I don't need to. I just need you to keep doing what you're doing. Because every time you run, you show everyone exactly who you are." His eyes flashed. He grabbed the envelope, shoved it into his bag, and climbed into the truck. He started it too hard, tires squealing just enough to draw attention. Then he shot down the ramp and disappeared into daylight like he could outrun an address. The process server exhaled, like this was his least favorite workout. "He'll show," he said. "They always show when a judge is attached to the calendar." At home, Lena was waiting at the kitchen table with the phone bill printed out, pages spread like evidence. "Why are my call logs going to your attorney?" she demanded. "Because you're on my plan," I said. "And because you used those calls to involve our kid." Her face drained. "You're trying to ruin me." "I'm trying to protect Maya," I said. "There's a difference." She slapped the paper down. "You're doing all this and you haven't even said what you want." "I want the truth to stop being optional," I said. Her voice cracked, and the truth slipped out before she could catch it. "He's not answering me." There it was, the part she never meant to say out loud. Derek wasn't running from me. He was running from her. And Lena finally understood the worst thing about my revenge. I hadn't broken any laws. I'd just stopped covering for her choices. The twist wasn't that Lena cheated. The twist was that the injury had nothing to do with bad luck. It had everything to do with Derek being exactly what I'd always suspected men like him were. Brave until the moment bravery costs something. Marla from the Riverstone Children's Fund called me on Friday morning. Her voice sounded tight, like she'd been holding it together for hours. "Evan," she said, "can you come by? We need to clarify something." "About Lena?" I asked. "Yes." I went because Maya's school was connected to Riverstone, because Lena's name mattered there. because whatever story was floating around could hit my daughter like shrapnel. Riverstone's office sat on the second floor of a brick building downtown. Polished floors, soft lighting, smiling photos of kids on the walls. It was the kind of place that wanted to feel clean. Marla met me in a small conference room. 2 other board members sat at the table, a man in a blazer with sharp cheekbones, a woman with silver hair and a tight smile. All of them had that same look, polite discomfort mixed with judgment. Marla slid a tablet toward me. "We have camera footage," she said. "From the venue." I didn't touch the tablet yet. "What does it show?" Marla swallowed. "It shows Lena arriving with a man. Not one of the other volunteers, not a spouse, a man we don't recognize." The blazer man spoke. He appeared to be escorting her. Escorting. A nice word for dragging someone into a bad decision. Marla continued, voice careful. "We also have footage from the service exit. She and the man argued near the stairs. The man reached for her arm. She pulled away. She slipped." My throat tightened. I pictured it instantly, the wet steps, the panic, Derek's hands grabbing, not to help, but to control. "Did he call for help?" I asked. Marla's eyes dropped. "No, a caterer found her and called 911. The man left the premises." The silver-haired woman made a small noise of disgust. "We can't have our name attached to that." I leaned back in the chair and let myself breathe slowly. No drama, no tears, just air. Marla said, "We wanted to know if you were aware." "I was aware of the ambulance," I said. "Not the cameras." The blazer man folded his hands. "We have donors who were present. We have minors. This is serious." "It's serious," I agreed. Marla hesitated. "Lena told us you were unstable, that you might react badly." There it was. The monster story, delivered in a conference room with charity posters watching. I looked at Marla and kept my voice even. "I'm reacting with paperwork," I said. "If that's unstable, then the whole legal system should be in a padded room." The silver-haired woman almost smiled. Marla rubbed her forehead. "We have to suspend her involvement pending review." I nodded. "That's your call." The blazer man leaned forward. "If you have anything that helps clarify the situation, we'd appreciate it." I thought about my daughter's voice. I thought about Derek running in the parking garage. I thought about Lena's call logs. I chose my words the way you choose where to step on ice. "I have evidence my child was instructed to lie about where Lena was," I said, "and that Lena called from another number before the injury." Marla's eyes widened. "Your child?" "Yes," I said, "and I'm pursuing custody arrangements accordingly." The silver-haired woman's face softened for the first time. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. I left Riverstone with a folder of notes Marla printed for me. Nothing confidential, just dates and basic confirmation of footage existence, enough for Malcolm to request it legally if needed. On the way out, my phone rang. Lena. I answered because Maya was at school, and I didn't want this spilling into her day. Lena's voice came out shaky. "They called me." "I know," I said. "They suspended me," she whispered. "Evan, please, call them. Tell them this is exaggerated." Exaggerated. Like a broken ankle was a rumor. "I'm not calling," I said. She inhaled sharply. "You're enjoying this." I paused. I let the honesty sit on the tip of my tongue. Then I said, "I'm enduring this." She started crying. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "I know," I said. "That's why it happened." Her voice turned desperate. "He panicked. He didn't mean to leave me." I felt something like pity try to rise, then it fell back down. "He didn't leave you because he panicked," I said. "He left you because you were inconvenient." Silence. Then a small, broken sound. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. I thought about the question. I thought about how, in a normal marriage, the answer would be simple. Honesty, repair, work. But this wasn't normal anymore. "I want you to stop trying to make me the villain," I said, and I want you to stop contacting Derek." Her breath hitched. "I can't." That word was the confession. Not "I won't," "I can't." I lowered my voice. "Lena," I said, "you can do whatever you want. You always do. But you don't get to do it inside my life anymore." She whispered, "Maya will hate me." "Maya will know the truth," I said. "That's different." Lena's voice sharpened suddenly. "So you're going to ruin me in front of her school? Is that what this is?" I didn't answer, because she'd just named the next battlefield without knowing it. That afternoon, the school sent out a reminder email. "Winter fundraiser, tonight at 7 p.m. Parents, please join us for performances and the Riverstone pledge drive." Riverstone. Of course. Lena was scheduled to help. She'd been proud of it. She'd talked about it like it was proof she was a good person. Now she was suspended. Now she was a scandal with a boot. And now, by accident or fate or just bad timing, the final confrontation was set in the one place neither of us could avoid: our daughter's school. The school gym looked the same as it always did: polished floor, faded lines, banners from old seasons hanging like ghosts. Somebody had strung white lights along the bleachers to make it feel festive. Folding chairs were lined up like soldiers. Maya sat between me and Kara, small hands folded in her lap. She wore a black dress with tiny gold stars and the serious face kids get when adults start lying around them. Lena entered on her crutches 10 minutes before the show. Hair done, lipstick on, a soft sweater that screamed harmless. The boot on her leg made her look fragile on purpose. Denise hovered behind her, scanning the room like she was already picking enemies. Heads turned, phones stayed low but ready. Rumors were already here, pretending to be parents. Lena walked straight to us. "Hi," she said, voice sweet. "Baby, come here." Maya's body went stiff. She looked at me first. "You don't have to," I told her softly. Lena's eyes flashed at me. "Don't do that." "Don't do what?" I asked. "Don't turn her against me." I kept my voice low. "You did that," I said. "Not me." Denise stepped in, loud enough to carry. "For God's sake, Evan, she's your wife." "Not for long," I said. The words landed like a dropped plate. You could feel people pretending they hadn't heard while hearing everything. Then Lena's gaze slid past us, and her face changed. Derek had walked in along the wall, trying to be invisible. No gym bag now. No swagger either. He moved like a man who regretted showing up the second he did. Near the entrance, Marla from Riverstone spoke quietly with the principal. Her eyes swept the room and locked on Lena, then Derek. Marla walked over with a folder in her hands. She stopped in front of Lena, polite but firm. "Lena," she said, "your suspension stands. You can't represent Riverstone tonight." Lena blinked like she hadn't understood the language. "This is humiliating." Marla didn't soften. "You chose your own humiliation. This is a school." Denise started to protest. Marla lifted a hand, calm as a stop sign. Denise froze, suddenly aware of how many people were watching. Derek began edging toward the exit. Marla turned her head. "Mr. Blake," she said. He stopped like his name was a hook. "We have footage," Marla continued. "You need to leave." Derek's face flushed. He looked around, saw the eyes on him, and decided he didn't want them. He headed for the door. School security met him halfway. No hands, no drama, just a quiet escort. Derek slipped out. He didn't look back at Lena. He just left. Again. The room didn't explode into shouting. It did something colder. A few parents turned their attention back to the stage like they could pretend this was none of their business. But their eyes kept sliding over, hungry and cautious at the same time. A couple whispers rippled through the nearest rows, soft enough to deny, loud enough to sting. Lena stood there with her boot planted, crutches under her arms, mouth open like she'd been waiting for Derek to say something, anything, that made her feel chosen again. When the door closed, her shoulders sagged a fraction, and I saw the truth land on her in real time. He hadn't been her escape. He'd been her mistake with good lighting. Denise leaned in, hissing, "Don't let them see you cry." But Lena didn't seem to hear. She was staring at the exit like a person staring at a grave, not because someone gone, but because something in her finally did. The fantasy that he cared. Maya watched her mother too. Not with hatred. Kids don't have enough years for that kind of clean hate. But with a careful, wounded curiosity, like she was trying to understand how adults can smile and still hurt people. I felt the old instinct to step in and smooth it over, to give Lena a bridge back to dignity. That instinct had kept our house quiet for years. It had also taught Lena that silence was free. I let the instinct pass. I kept my hands at my sides. I kept my voice in my pocket. The only thing I offered was space for the consequences to stand up straight. Across the gym, someone laughed at a kid's missed note. Life kept moving. That was the cruelest part. The world didn't pause for betrayal. It just watched it happen, then clapped for the next song. And in that applause, Lena heard herself. Lena watched the door close and something in her expression cracked. Not pain, not anger, but the realization that she'd been disposable from the start. She turned to me, shaking. "You did this." I shook my head slowly. "No," I said. "He did. When he chose himself. Twice." Her voice went thin. "You planned it. All of it." I reached into my jacket and handed her one folded paper. Temporary parenting plan. Effective immediately. Her hands shook as she opened it. Denise read over her shoulder and went pale. "What is this?" Lena whispered. "My attorney filed an emergency motion," I said quietly. "Because you involved Maya. Because you told her to lie. The judge signed it today." Lena's eyes raced over the page like she could outrun the words. "You can't pick her up without notice," I said. "You can't pull her out of school, and you can't contact her to ask her to cover for you again." Tears spilled down Lena's face. "I'm her mother." "You are," I said. "That's why you should have protected her." On stage, the kids began singing, off-key, loud, proud. Parents clapped like nothing was happening. Maya tugged my sleeve. "Dad, can we go?" "Yeah," I said. "We can go." As we walked toward the door, Lena said my name, small and broken. "Evan." I looked back once. She stood under the twinkling gym lights with the court order in her hands and Denise's fingers gripping her arm like a leash. "You wanted a story where I was the villain," I said quietly. "Congratulations." Then I turned and walked out into the cold night with my daughter beside me. The door shut behind us with a sound like a lock turning.